Hey everyone, this is Jonathan from Guitar Player Academy, and today we're going over the best bends to use in your solo. A lot of this can be applied to my how-to solo series, but I kind of wanted to do a divergence from that. That way, if you're just looking about bends and you're not trying to feed through the whole playlist and look for this, it's easier to find. With that being said, while you're looking through the playlist, you might as well subscribe and hit the notification bell. That way you never miss a Guitar Player Academy video. And if this video was at all helpful, please like the video and leave a comment below which bend that you guys find the most helpful or the most useful. With that being said, let's get into the video. Now, we're circling everything around an A minor pentatonic shape, right? That's just A, C, D, E, G, A. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, octave. Right? Slowly, that's 1, 4, and when I mean 1, I'm on the 5th fret. My index finger is never really leaving the 5th fret. So when I say 1, 4, I'm saying like 5, 8, but just for 1, 2, 3, 4 fingering purposes. 1, 4, 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 4, 1. Right? In this minor pentatonic shape, there are tons of bending possibilities. And when I look at new players or intermediate players or even players that have been playing for a long time, they don't really know when to use a bend and then when not to use a bend. And even when they do bend, there is the ever so present danger of what I call overbending, which is when, or underbending in that in fact, where you either miss the note, you go too high, or you're just shy of the note and you go too low. It's a lot of muscle memory, but I'm going to break it down for you guys, give you guys some tricks to see if it's helpful at all. So we're going to be playing to a backing track. All we're doing is playing in the key of A minor, right, which is just C major, so you can take this and move it around. There is a great point to make. This minor pentatonic shape, because we're playing guitar, we can move it anywhere on the neck. So if I tell you guys, hey, we're going to bend like this, which we'll go over, you could take that to the key of G minor and you'll get the same effect. So just keep that in mind. Make sure to practice in different keys and apply it in different situations. But let's get down to the backing track. The first type of bend that I want to talk about is, I think, one of the easiest, right? Which is the one I just showed you. All we're doing there is bending the 4th degree of the scale. Remember, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the 3rd. This is the 4. And we're bending it what's called a whole step. We're bending it to the 5th. Or, to use our fingering, that's all we're doing. Now, when you bend, it's important that you match that pitch. Because we were talking about overbending and underbending before. If you overbend, you're going to have something like this. That's not, you're like a half step off at that point. So it's a lot of muscle memory. So what I tend to do, right, when I'm bending this, is when I was first learning it, I would play that note and practice like that. I would literally hold my index down and I would bend slowly. In this case, I'm bending with my 3rd finger here until I match the 5th. Right? Because if you go, you know you're definitely not right. You know you're definitely not right. This is a great checkpoint to make sure that you're accurately hitting those pitches. So just practice. You know, if you're bending up, you can't even tell that I'm hitting 2 strings right now. It's right in pitch. If we put the backing track to it, we'll start out with just a riff and then we'll go into that bend. Right, there it is. It's great to use on any one chord. Here it is. Right? Again, use that as a check. If you're under bending, and I'm just using my middle and my ring finger here for support and just bending up. Right? But there is such a thing to be said as speed here. It depends what you're trying to shoot for. Again, we talk a lot about phrasing on this channel because it's so important. If you're trying to be dramatic, having those extra picks on your right, and I'm just picking as I go down. Right? But if I'm trying to have some speed, you don't have the time to slowly bend up. So you just... not as much attack. But I'm always using my middle and ring finger as support. So again, I'm just bending the 4th degree of our scale, the D up to an E. That's all I'm doing. And you can use that check as a part of your solo. It's a great tool to use. Now, moving on to what I think is the second most popular bend is the flat 7 to 1. Very similar thought process from 4 to 5 here. You'll notice that we're always typically bending from something that is not a chord tone, meaning it is not 1, 3, or 5. In this case, flat 7 is a chord tone. However, it's not super stable, but we're always bending from something that's not stable, a tension, to a release, which is a stable chord tone, which is either 1, 3, or 5. We bent from 4 to 5, which 4 is not stable, so we resolved it with 5. Now, we're taking that same thought process and moving flat 7 to 1. So again, if we're thinking of our shape here, flat 7 is our pinky on the B string. However, while it's possible, it's not that easy to bend with your pinky. It's unstable, right? You know, the pinky is the weakest finger, easily out of all 5 of our fingers here. So what I tend to do is I take my ring finger and I replace where my pinky would be. These 2 fingers will always be your bending fingers. 9 times out of 10 will always be your bending fingers. And again, all we're doing is bending a whole step from G to A. Let's try our trick to make sure that we stay in tune here. You'll notice that you will have to put more effort into bending on your B string than on your G string. This happens. There is tension on each one of these strings, and because of that, it's going to take a different amount of effort per string. So the G string is really easy to bend. It's not really that big of a problem. Your B string, however, it's higher in pitch, which means the string is being pulled harder on your guitar to get that higher pitch, which means you're going to have to fight it more. So again, you want to take your 2 fingers and just check. Again, if I'm here, I haven't reached the note. If I'm here, I'm way past the note, right? If I'm here, I'm just right. And it's all about learning your instrument. I can promise you, no matter if you're playing a Fender, if you're playing a PRS, if you're playing a Les Paul, it doesn't matter. But I can tell you this, that your guitar should not feel like it's fighting you when you're bending. If it feels like it's fighting you, you have overbent. That's my rule of thumb. It should just feel fluent, right? So again, for demonstration purposes, if I'm, that's our shape. Right? See how nicely that flat 7 to 1 feeds into your 4 to 5? Right? Look. That's going to be our third type of bend there. And you can use this bend to kind of, that's my favorite type of thing to do, flat 7, natural 7 to 1, but bend it up. Ready? Right? It all fits into one another. Again, if you missed it, all I'm doing is working my way up. Now, for the third bend that I want to introduce to you guys, remember how we were in this box and I said, okay guys, 4 goes up to 5. We have our index here, and all I'm taking is just taking the 3rd degree of the scale, which is a C, and bending it up just slightly, a half step, to play a C sharp, just to add a little bit of flavor, right? And you can do that in any octave. So if I'm playing like this, right? Taking my index, my first finger here. Or I'm just moving. It's a great way, in my opinion, to end a phrase. Because you're in a minor key in this context. So you can't do, doesn't work, but if you're kind of like bending, not even a half step, really a quarter step, just a little tug with your index, it just adds a little bit of flavor, which is great. So, this, again, is just, I played that, but that's just our 4 to 5. So you can move these bends no matter where you go on the neck. Right? You combine them, you feed into one another, but don't be afraid to move throughout your neck. And if you say, well, D to E works really well, why wouldn't I try D to E up here? Right? The last type of bend that I want to show off is my personal all-time favorite because I think it adds the most color, right? I'm all about color and vibrations, and I think this type of bend adds the most emotional context to your soloing, especially if you're just playing over a minor 7 chord and you add this in. It's a nice little flair that people are going to say, oh, that wasn't just minor pentatonic. They're right. We're turning our A minor 7 and adding what's called the 9 on top, right? The 9 is just the second note of the A minor scale, right? So how we had 1, 3, or excuse me, 1, 4, 1, 3, 1, 3, which was A, C, D, E, G, A. Well, instead of going right to C, we're putting in a B natural layer, basing heavily off of the Aeolian scale. Right? And how I like to use this bend, if I'm going, right? I use it as a way to bend up from 9 to flat 3 to our chord tone. Again, we're shooting for chord tones, right? That's a great thing to do for bending from our flat 3 to 4. Right? You're just continuing the phrasing. That's all you're doing, but you're bending it. Right? That's all you're doing. It's just these little things. But I want to emphasize, again, no matter what type of bend you're bending to, right, where you're going, what you're doing, the two most important things is this tension and release, right? What we talked about, if you're starting on the 9 like we just did, right, the second note, the B, well, you got to go somewhere with it. You know, you can just let it sit there and it sounds amazing, but if you're bending, you have to bend it to somewhere that's tangible, usually a chord tone, which is the first, the third, either flat or major third, depending what key you're in, or the 5th, right? That's rule number 1. Rule number 2 is this: if you're bending something, it is better to bend in key, in pitch, than it is to just show a bend just to throw a bend in there. Right? And again, it's what I was saying. If you're going to bend, you want to bend in tune. Again, it sounds really bad if you're trying to get to 1 and you're doing that. A lot of new guys do that because they're like, well, I saw it on a rock video, I just want to bend. And it's like, yes, but a lot of this has a science, and all of it has a meaning. And a lot of it is just writing a story. And that, to me, when you're doing that, you just had a typo in your book and it got published. And now everyone's looking at you because you can't spell whatever word, right? But that's pretty much it. That's all of my favorite go-to bends that I have. Again, it's all pretty much based around the A minor pentatonic. However, if you are playing in any minor key, and that can be Aeolian, the mode which we go over in our How to Solo series, if you're doing that, all of these bends work. All of them work. So I hope you found the video super helpful. If you found it helpful, please like the video. And while you're on the channel, you might as well subscribe and hit the notification bell. That way you guys don't ever miss a Guitar Player Academy video. Again, my name has been Jonathan, and keep on shedding and keep coming back because we want to make you the best guitar player that you can be. Thanks for watching.